Hi, it's Zane. Welcome back to our tales. I'm so happy you're here. Where are you today? A new journey begins right now. Let's dive into the story. The night I first touched Meera's shoulders, I knew I might be wrecking my life. It was after closing time at Nate's bookstore in our small town outside Boston. The street outside was quiet. Rain tapped against the front windows like a slow, steady knock. Inside, it smelled like old paper, dust, and the burnt coffee Nate called classic, even though it tasted terrible. I sat behind the counter with my laptop open, pretending to work on a spreadsheet. It made me feel like I had control over something, even if my own life felt like one big mess I could not organize. Nate was in Chicago for a week for a book fair, and he trusted me to run the shop. We grew up together. Same high school, same late-night pizza runs, same broken plans about moving to big cities and doing big things. Now he had the family bookstore. I had freelance coding jobs and a lot of questions. The bell above the door jingled, and I looked up, thinking it was some customer who forgot the time. Instead, Meera stood there. For a second, the whole shop felt smaller. I had met her once years ago at one of Nate's birthday parties. Back then I was younger, and sure, every older person had their life figured out. She seemed distant that night, like she was listening to music no one else could hear. Now she looked older, but in a good way. Stronger. Her dark hair was in a messy bun. A pale gray sweater hung loose around her frame. There was a soft smell around her, like jasmine and soap, and the quiet of the shop seemed to wrap around her instead of push her out. "Eli," she said, testing my name like it was new. "You're watching the shop." "Yeah," I said, standing up too fast. The floorboards groaned under my feet. "Nate asked me to. He's out of town." She nodded and let her eyes move over the shelves, the old rolling ladder, the crooked sign above us that still said, "Quiet, please," even though half the town treated this place like a living room. "This place still feels the same," she said. "Like my childhood never left." I tried to smile. "It smells the same too." Her lips lifted a little, not a full smile, just enough to make my chest feel tight. She walked between the shelves, her fingers brushing the spines like she was greeting old friends. She stopped in front of the classics and pulled out a worn copy of Pride and Prejudice. She held it with both hands, gentle and sure. "Mom used to keep this behind the counter," she said. She said people asked for it when they needed to feel hopeful. I leaned on the counter and watched her, trying not to make it obvious. "You read it?" I asked. "I did," she said. "I liked the parts where people said what they meant, even when they were scared. That hit harder than it should have." I cleared my throat. "So you're in town for a while?" I asked. "A few days," she said, still looking at the book. "I've been helping Nate with some paperwork. Family stuff." I wanted to ask what family stuff meant, but her voice said that question was off limits for me. I was Nate's best friend. The temporary bookstore guy. Not someone who got let into Meera's real life. But then she turned and looked right at me, like none of that mattered. "My shoulders have been killing me," she said, like she was talking about the weather. "From driving and carrying boxes." "Oh," I straightened. "Yeah, that sounds rough." She tilted her head, studying me. "Nate told me there's an old massage chair upstairs, from when Mom tried to turn this into a little wellness shop." "There is," I said. "It's kinda dusty. The chair still works, sometimes." Meera stepped closer to the counter. Her voice dropped, even though we were alone. "Do you think you could help me?" she asked. "Just for a few minutes?" I can't get this not to let go. My brain should have said no. My brain should have reminded me that this was my best friend's sister. That I was 24, and she was older and calmer, and probably used to people doing what she asked. But the way she asked wasn't flirty or dramatic. It was simple. She trusted me. "Yeah," I heard myself say. "Okay, I can try." We went around the counter and up the narrow stairs. Every time I climbed them, I felt like I was sneaking into a part of the shop that didn't belong to me. The air upstairs smelled like old wood and faded perfume. The massage room was small, tucked at the end of the hall, with a faded green chair and a single lamp that made the room look softer than it really was. Rain rattled the tiny window. Meera stood in the middle of the room, arms folded, like she was asking herself if this was a bad idea. "I can go back downstairs if this is weird," I blurted. My mouth always moved faster than my brain. She looked at me and finally gave a real smile, small but warm. "It's already weird," she said. "But my shoulder still hurts." She sat in the chair like she was careful with her own body. Then she pulled her sweater off one shoulder, revealing a thin black tank strap and the curve of her upper back. Nothing about it was wrong, but my face still went hot. "Light pressure," she said quietly. "Just here." I stepped behind her, hands hovering in the air for a second. Then I finally set my fingers on her shoulders. The muscle under my touch felt like a rope pulled too tight. I started slowly, pressing in small circles like I had seen in videos online, trying to act like I knew what I was doing and not like my heart was pounding against my ribs. Meera let out a long breath, like she had been holding it all day. "That spot," she murmured. I focused on my hands. Tension, pressure, release. Something simple I could manage. "You're actually good at this," she said after a minute. I almost laughed. "I'm not. I'm just trying not to mess up." "You're not messing up," she said, and her tone made my stomach flip. "You're doing what he never did." My hand slowed. "Who?" She turned her head just enough that I could see her eyes in the lamplight. Calm, but sharp. "My ex," she said. Then she looked up at me again, and her next words came out soft and honest, like she had been holding back to it. "You should," she said. "You don't even know if I'm good." "I know the way you notice things," she said. "People who notice things can write." My throat tightened. No one talked to me like that. "You paint, right?" I asked, pushing the focus away from me. "I used to," she said. The words sounded heavy, like a door closing. "Sorry," I said. "I shouldn't pry." "You're not prying," she said. "It's just complicated." The rain hit the window harder. The chair hummed. The lamp made the loose strands of her hair shine. I wanted to ask what happened to her art, to her marriage, to everything, but I didn't. Instead, I kept my hands steady until she finally let out a long breath. "Okay," she said. "It's easing up." I pulled my hands back too fast, like I had touched something hot. Then I felt stupid for moving away so quickly. "Better?" I asked. She rolled her shoulders and nodded. "Yeah, a lot better." She stood, pulled her sweater back over her shoulder, and turned to face me. Up close, her eyes looked tired in a way her calm voice didn't show. "Thank you," she said. "You're welcome," I said. "Anytime." Anytime slipped out without my permission. I wanted it to be true. Her gaze held mine 1 second too long. My chest tightened. I wanted her to come back. I wanted this not to be a one-time mistake. "We should go downstairs," she said. "I don't want Nate thinking you dragged me into some strange room." I laughed a little too loud. He'd probably call the cops first and apologize after. We went back down. The bookstore was the same, but the air felt different, like we had brought a secret back with us. Meera helped me close up. We straightened stacks, put books back, moved around each other in small, careful circles. Our hands brushed a few times when we reached for the same book. Each time, something sharp and warm ran through me. When the last customer left, I flipped the sign to closed and locked the door. Meera stood by the front window, watching the rain slide down the glass. "I should go," she said, but she stayed where she was. "Yeah," I said, and stayed where I was. She turned to me, her face soft but serious. "Nate doesn't know the details of my divorce," she said. "He thinks it was just two people who grew apart." "It wasn't?" I asked. Her jaw tensed. "No. He made me feel small. Like I was lucky he even picked me." Anger rose in my chest for a man I had never met. "That's why what you did upstairs mattered," she said. "You didn't take. You slept in 3 days." "I might not have," I said, but I took the coffee anyway. It was warm and strong and tasted better than Nate's. She gave a small smile and glanced around the shop. There was an older man in the back reading a travel book, a girl flipping through a fantasy novel near the door. The place was quiet, but not empty. "Can we talk?" she asked. "Yeah," I said right away. She headed toward the poetry aisle. I followed her into the narrow row where the shelves leaned in and the light overhead flickered like it was tired. She leaned back against the books and crossed her arms like she was holding herself in place. "I need you to hear me," she said. "I'm listening," I told her. "Nate is your best friend. He is my brother." She took a breath. "I am not trying to ruin that. I will not ruin that." My chest tightened. "I am not trying to ruin anything either." "I know," she said. "That is why this is hard." The quiet pressed in from all sides. I could hear the faint murmur of someone turning pages at the front of the store. "When you touched my shoulders yesterday," she said slowly, "I felt safe." It sounds dramatic, but it is true. My ex used to hold me like he owned me. Even when he was being nice, it came with a price. With you, it did not. You just helped. I felt anger rise in my chest again, hot and useless. I am sorry, I said. She shook her head. Do not be sorry. Just be honest. I swallowed. Honest about what? Meera pushed off the shelf and stepped closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough that I could feel the heat between us. Do you want this? She asked. Whatever this is. The air felt thin. The hum of the lights faded. The store noise dropped to nothing in my head. Yes, I said. There was no point pretending. I do. Her eyes softened for a second, like I had just put down something heavy she had been carrying alone. Then the relief faded, and the reality came back into her face. But we cannot do it like this, she said. What do you mean? I asked, even though I already knew. Secrets make people cruel, she said. Secrets make people lie. I have had enough of that. I do not want to turn you into someone you are not. Those words hit me harder than I expected. I thought about the way I had laughed with Nate on the phone like nothing was different, the way I had almost said nothing about any of this at all. Nate comes back tonight, she said. We act normal. We do not do anything stupid. We do not give him a reason to suspect anything. I nodded. Okay. And after that, she added, voice softer now, we decide what we are doing. My heart jumped. We decide, I repeated. Together, she said. Together, I said back. We went out of the aisle and returned to the front like nothing had happened. Meera helped me ring up customers. She laughed with a little kid who asked where the dinosaur books were. She carried a stack of returns like she had worked here all her life. To anyone watching, she was just Nate's older sister, helping out. To me, every time her fingers brushed mine when she passed a book, it felt like a quiet question I was answering without words. Around 5, my phone buzzed. Nate's name lit up the screen. My stomach dropped. Meera saw my face and went still. I answered. Hey, Eli, Nate said, loud and cheerful over the noise of traffic. You still alive in there? Yeah, I said. Shop's fine. Good, he said. I am about an hour out. Traffic is not bad. I am starving. Should I grab pizza on the way? Please, I said, trying to sound normal. You know what I like. He laughed. Yeah, man. Same order as high school. For a second, it almost felt like nothing had changed. Then he said it. Guess who I ran into at the airport, he added. Meera. My pulse jumped. My eyes went straight to her. She was standing by the counter, holding a paperback so tight the cover was bending. You saw her? I asked, keeping my voice even. Yeah, Nate said. Had no clue she was there. She said it was a last-minute thing. We grabbed coffee and caught up. She seems better. Lighter. I heard Meera's quick inhale from across the counter. That is good, I managed. Anyway, Nate said. I will see you soon. Keep the lights on. I want to walk in like a hero. Drive safe, I said. When I hung up, my hand felt numb around the phone. Meera walked over. He saw me, she said quietly. I nodded. At the airport. For a second, her face went pale. Then she drew in a slow breath and steadied herself. Okay, she said. That is fine. That is not all, I said. He said you seemed lighter. She let out a breath that sounded like pain and relief at the same time. He is happy for me, she whispered. Or he thinks he is, I said. She looked away, blinking fast, then faced me again. We can do this, she said, like she was trying to convince both of us. Before I could answer, the bell above the door jingled. Nate walked in, duffel bag on his shoulder, that same wide grin he had worn since we were 16. My bookstore, he said, spreading his arms. I stepped out from behind the counter and hugged him. Guilt hit me in the chest so hard I had to grip his shoulder to stay steady. Meera stood a few feet away, hands folded. Hey, big brother, she said. Nate turned and hugged her too. For a second, watching them, I tried to remember what it felt like when everything between us was simple. You two look like you have been working hard, he said when he pulled back. I appreciate it. Then his eyes settled on me, and something in his face shifted. Not anger. Not yet. Just a sharper kind of focus. He pointed at my hands. Why are your fingers red? I looked down. They were raw from cleaning, from grabbing cold metal handles, from holding on too tight to everything. Cleaning, I said. Dust gets everywhere. Nate nodded slowly. Right. Cleaning. He looked at Meera next. And you? What were you doing here so much? Her smile stayed in place, but I saw the small tight line in her jaw. Just checking on things, she said. Making sure Eli was not turning this place into a disaster. Nate laughed, but his eyes stayed on her half a second longer than they needed to. Yeah, he said. Good. He put the duffel down, picked up a book from a nearby shelf, flipped it open, then looked back at me. "Hey," he said, casual on the surface. "You want to grab a beer later? Just you and me." My stomach clenched. "Sure," I said. "Yeah." Nate smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "Cool," he said. "We will talk." And right then I knew he was not really asking me for a beer. He was asking me for the truth. Nate did not wait long. He locked up the bookstore like it was any normal night, flipped the sign to closed, and told Meera he would be back in an hour. She nodded, but I could see the way her fingers curled tight around the edge of the counter. I followed him down the street to a bar near the river. The kind with old Red Sox posters on the walls and sticky tables that had seen too many spilled drinks. The place smelled like fried food and beer. Low music played from a speaker that buzzed on the high notes. Nate picked a booth in the back where the lights were dim. We sat opposite each other. He did not pick up a menu. He did not joke. He just stared at me, elbows on the table, like I was a puzzle he did not want to solve. "You've been weird," he said finally. "I've been tired," I tried. "Eli," he said, and my name sounded heavier than usual. "I know you. I know when you're hiding something." My throat went dry. I tucked my hands under the table so he would not see how much they were shaking. He leaned back and looked me over like he was checking for cracks. "So I'm going to ask you once," he said. "Is this about Meera?" The words hit me like a punch. I could have lied. I could have laughed it off, pushed it away, told myself I was protecting him. But the truth felt like it was already sitting between us, loud and obvious. "Yes," I said. Nate blinked. "Yes what?" "Yes," I repeated, voice softer. "It's about Meera." Something in his face changed. The easy guy I had known since high school stepped back, and someone more guarded took his place. He let out a short laugh that did not sound like a joke. "You're my best friend," he said. "And she's my sister." "I know," I whispered. "I know." "How long?" he asked. His voice was not loud, but it cut through me. "It hasn't been long," I said. "And it wasn't planned." "That does not answer the question," he said. I swallowed hard. "A few days." He pressed his tongue against his cheek like he was holding back a lot of words. "And what?" he asked. "You think you're going to date my sister behind my back like this is some stupid secret?" "That's not what I wanted," I said quickly. "I didn't want to hide it. You were gone, and it all happened so fast, and I shook my head. I didn't know how to tell you." "So you didn't," he said, anger flashing across his face. "You just kept going. You just kept letting it happen." My chest hurt. "I didn't want to hurt you." "You did," he said. "You already did." The waitress came over and asked if we wanted drinks. Nate waved her away without looking at her. When she left, the space around us felt even smaller. "I'm not using her," I said. "I'm not messing around. She's not a game. She's Meera." He flinched a little at her name in my mouth. He stared at the wall behind me for a long second, then looked back. "You know what she's been through?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "She told me what she wanted to tell me." "And you think you're the guy who fixes that?" Nate asked. "No," I said, shaking my head. "I'm not trying to fix her. I'm just there. I care about her. A lot." Nate's anger started to look tired, like it had deep roots. He rubbed his hand over his face. "You were supposed to be safe," he said quietly. Those words hit harder than anything else. Because he was right. I had always been the safe one. The steady one. The one who did not cross lines. "I'm sorry," I said, and I felt my voice crack. "I really am. I didn't mean for this to happen, but it did." Nate looked out toward the bar windows where the river lights blurred and moved on the glass. "She's lonely," he said. "She's been through hell. You're close. You're here. You're young. I'm scared she's going to get hurt again, and this time it'll be because of you." "I won't hurt her," I said. He gave a short, bitter laugh. "You can't promise that." "I can promise I won't do it on purpose," I said. "And I can promise I'll be honest. No more lying. No more secrets about this. Not with you. Not with her." He stared at me like he was trying to see if I believed my own words. "So what now?" he asked. I took a breath that felt like it scraped my lungs. "Now we don't hide," I said. "We go back. We tell her we're not doing this in the dark anymore. If we mess this up, we at least do it honest." Nate looked surprised for a second, like he had expected me to back down, to say I would stay away from her and make it simple for him. Then his phone buzzed on the table. He glanced at the screen. His jaw tightened. "It's her," he said. "Meera. She wants to know where we are." My stomach dropped. "Then we go back," I said. He stood up like he could not sit anymore. For a second, we just looked at each other. Then he nodded once. We walked back to the bookstore fast. The cold air stung my cheeks. My heart pounded hard enough that I could hear it in my ears. When we pushed open the door, the bell jingled like everything was normal. Meera stood behind the counter, arms folded, eyes steady. She looked from Nate to me, once, and seemed to read everything in the space between us. "You told him?" she asked. It was not a question. I nodded. "Yeah." Nate stepped forward. "Why him?" he asked, and his voice cracked on the word. "Why my best friend?" Meera flinched a little, then lifted her chin. "Because he saw me," she said. "Because he didn't treat me like I was broken. Because he didn't ask for anything except honesty." Nate's eyes burned into mine, then moved back to her. "Did he touch you?" he asked, blunt and raw. Meera went still. I felt my face heat, but I forced myself to hold his stare. "I gave her a massage," I said. "That's how it started." His jaw clenched. I could see the image he had in his head and how much he hated it. "Jesus," he muttered. Meera stepped out from behind the counter. "Don't do that," she said. "Don't make it dirty." He helped me. I asked him to. He didn't force anything. Nate dragged a hand over his face again, like he wanted to wake up from this whole thing. "This is insane," he said. "You too. It's insane." "It's not insane," Meera said. "It's just inconvenient for you." His head snapped up. "Inconvenient? That's what you're calling it." Meera's voice softened, but her eyes stayed hard. "Nate, I love you. You're my brother. You've always tried to protect me. But I'm not 15 anymore. I'm not your project. I'm not your responsibility." His shoulders sagged like someone had let air out of him. He looked at me, and his voice dropped even lower. "Are you in love with her?" he asked. My heart slammed against my ribs. The word felt big, like a cliff. But I could not lie now. Not after everything I had already said. "I don't know if it's love yet," I said honestly. "But I know I care about her. A lot. And I know I'm not playing with her. I don't want to use her. I don't want to hide her. I just want a real chance." Meera's eyes softened when I said that. She stepped closer, so close I could feel the warmth from her shoulder brush my arm. "You two think this can just work?" Nate asked, voice sharp and tired. "Like this won't blow everything up?" "No," Meera said. "I think it will be hard. I think you'll be angry. I think people will talk. I think we will mess up." She looked at me, and it felt like she was asking me something without words. But I also think I deserve to feel something good. The shop was quiet except for the old radiator humming in the corner and the small creaks of the building settling into itself. Nate stared at the floor, breathing hard. When he looked up, his eyes were wet in a way I had never seen. "I don't want to lose either of you," he said. "You won't," Meera said softly. "Not if you don't make me choose." He swallowed, like he was forcing his pride and fear back down where no one could see it. Then he looked at me, and his voice went cold again, even though it shook a little. "If you hurt her," he said, "I will never forgive you." I nodded. "I understand." He stared at me one more second, then turned toward the door. "I'm going home," he said. The bell jingled as he walked out. The sound felt too bright for the heaviness in my chest. Meera stared at the door for a long second, like she was fighting the urge to run after him. Her shoulders rose and fell with a shaky breath. "You okay?" I asked quietly. "No," she said. Then she looked at me, and the answer in her eyes was honest and raw. "But I will be." I took a small step closer and held out my hand, not grabbing, just offering. She looked at it, then at me, and slipped her fingers into mine. They were warm and steady. For a moment, in the middle of that quiet bookstore with the door still swinging gently from Nate's exit, the whole world felt like it had narrowed down to her hand in mine, and the road we had just chosen, even if we could not see the end of it yet. We stood in the bookstore for a moment, hand in hand, listening to the radiator hum and the faint noise from the street. The door had stopped swinging. Nate was really gone. "I did not mean to blow up your life," I said. Meera let out a soft breath that sounded like tired laughter. "It was already cracked," she said. "You just showed me where." We finished closing in silence. I turned off the lamps one by one. The shop sank into a softer darkness, only the streetlights outside glowing through the front windows. When everything was locked, we stepped out into the cool night. The rain had stopped. The pavement shined under the streetlights, wet and new. Meera slid her arm through mine like it was the most natural thing in the world and started walking. "Come on," she said. "I need air." We walked toward the river at the edge of town. It was a short walk we had both taken 100 times for other reasons. Coffee runs, late study nights, Phone calls with Nate. Tonight it felt different. Heavy and light at the same time. We reached the small park beside the water. The river moved slow and dark, carrying the lights from the houses in shaky lines. Meera sat on a bench facing the water. I sat beside her, close but not crowding. Our shoulders almost touched. I hate that he is hurting, she whispered. I hate it too, I said. But I would rather he hate me for the truth than love me while I lie to him. She turned her head and studied my face carefully, like she was trying to decide if she trusted that. Then she looked back at the water. My ex used to tell me I was too much, she said quietly. Too emotional. Too needy. Too hard to please. Like I was a problem he had to manage. My chest tightened. You are not too much, I said. He was too small. Her mouth twitched into a weak smile. You keep saying things like that. Because I mean them, I said. For a moment, she was quiet. Then she leaned her head against my shoulder. While to look at me again. Her breath caught. She watched me like she was taking a picture in her mind, one she did not want to lose. A real chance, she repeated. Yeah, I said. A real one. The kind where we do not pretend we are nothing. The kind where I walk into that bookstore, and I am not ashamed to stand next to you. Meera blinked hard, and I saw her fight back tears, not because she was sad, but because the feeling was big. Okay, she said finally, voice soft but steady. A chance. I did not pull her into some big movie kiss. I did not grab her like I owned her. I just leaned in until my forehead rested against hers. Our noses brushed. Our breaths mixed in the cold air. We stayed like that, quiet and close, the river moving beside us and the town lights blinking across the water. Her hand found mine again. Our fingers laced together, slow and sure. I do not know how this is going to go, I said. I do not know how long it will take for Nate to forgive me, or if he will. I do not know what people will say if they see us together. I know, she said. I do not either. But I know I am done acting like you are some line I almost crossed, I said. I crossed it. I am here. If you want to walk this with me, I will not pretend you are anything less than what you are. And what am I? She asked, a small smile at the corner of her mouth. Someone who makes this town feel different, I said. Someone I think about when I should be working. Someone who deserves better than a man who makes her feel small. She let out a shaky laugh. You are going to make it very hard to go back to not being seen, she said. Good, I answered. We sat like that for a while, listening to the soft rush of the river and the distant sound of a car passing on the bridge. The night was cold, but I did not feel it much. Not with her pressed against my side, not with her fingers wrapped around mine. After a few minutes, she pulled her phone from her pocket. I should text him, she said. Nate? I asked. She nodded, typing slowly. I watched the screen without reading. What did you say? I asked. That I am home if he wants to talk, she said. And that I love him. My chest ached. That is good, I said. She set the phone between us on the bench. We watched the blank screen like it might bite. A minute later, it lit up. She glanced down and read the message. Her eyes softened. He said not tonight. Later, she said. And he put a little heart for the first time in months. Relief washed through me so strong, I had to let out a breath. That is something, I said. It is, she agreed. We fell silent again. The kind of silence that did not feel heavy anymore. Just full. Do you regret it? She asked suddenly. Helping me that night. Saying yes. Touching my shoulders. Letting this happen. I thought of the first moment she walked into the shop. The jasmine in the air. Her fingers on the book spines. The way she said my name like she was testing it. The way she exhaled when the knot in her shoulder finally let go. No, I said. I do not regret it. Even if it costs you, Nate? She asked. I looked out at the water, then back at her. I hope it does not, I said. I hope he comes around. I hope one day he teases us about this instead of flinching. But I cannot live my whole life scared of feelings that are already here. I tried that. It did not work. She nodded slowly, like she understood something about herself too. I spent years with a man who made me feel lucky he chose me, she said. I am done with that. I am not asking you to fix my past, Eli. I just want someone who stands next to me while I build something new. I can do that, I said. I can at least try every day. She smiled then. A real one that reached her eyes. The kind that made the whole night feel brighter. Then this is our start, she said. She turned her face up to mine, and this time when I leaned in, our lips met. It was not fast or wild. It was gentle and careful and honest. A promise. A question and an answer at the same time. When we pulled back, we stayed close, breath mixing, hands still joined. That massage ruined my life, she said softly, teasing now. I laughed under my breath. Sorry. She shook her head. I am not. You were better than my ex that night. Not because of your hands. Because you saw me when I felt invisible. I felt my throat tighten again. I pressed a light kiss to her forehead. I see you, I said. The river moved. The lights of the town glowed on the water. Somewhere out there, Nate was working through his hurt and his anger and his love. I knew the next days would be hard. There would be sharp words and quiet dinners and space that felt too wide. But sitting there on that bench with Meera's hand in mine and her head on my shoulder, I also knew this. For the first time in a long time, I was not hiding from my own life. And I was not alone in it.
If this story stays with your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends.